Hello and welcome to Thinking Outside the Box with me, Tim Box.
And me, Britt Box.
We talk about all things to do with your mental health, emotional well-being, and how to navigate your own mind in these strange times. But of course, we're not doctors, so please don't confuse any of our advice for medical advice. And whilst we come at these things with a slightly more light-hearted perspective, please don't think we trivialise any of the things we talk about, because we certainly don't. But because we come from a different perspective, we called the podcast Thinking Outside the Box. Britt.
Hi, Tim.
Hi. I think I did I do a different intro?
No.
Did it feel like I worded it differently?
Sometimes you pause in different places and then I hear you trying to get back on track.
Trying to remember what I was saying.
Yeah.
It wasn't as smooth today. I can't be bothered to do it again, though.
No, it's fine.
Is it fine? Is
yeah,
it good
it's
enough?
fine.
I
I wasn't listening. But I never listen. I wait for you to say with me, Tim Box, I'm like, oh, that's my cue.
Brilliant. Hey, you know what I've just noticed?
What?
Your lovely teeth.
Oh,
Look at your cute smile with your newly aligned teeth.
I know. So for those of you that follow me on socials and listen to our podcast in real time, if you will, I've had braces on for nearly 5 months.
5 months?
Yeah.
That's raced by.
I know. And the braces came off yesterday. We're not finished yet. According to my dentist, lovely Dr. Lydia Sharples at Bespoke Smile, we are, and I quote, 70% of the way done.
She did originally say 75%, then
she
corrected herself.
She went 75, no 70, and it's that level of meticularity.
It's not meticularity. I don't know what the word is, but
meticulousness.
I think that might be it.
That might be it. It's that level of meticulous care that that I enjoy. But yes, so I also currently have a retainer, but I have taken it out, and it's in this little box next to me, and I've taken it out while we do the podcast because I discovered this morning I cannot speak with it in. Yeah,
you do. It is noticeable.
Yes, I'm talking like this, and you don't want to hear an hour of that. So
it's not quite that pronounced, but yeah, that's the general gist of it. Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, here we are. Chapter.
It's because you've been reading.
I have been reading. I don't do a lot of that, so now it's affected my vocabulary. Episode 25.
25.
The quarter century episode.
I mean, okay, sounds a bit grandeur for what it is.
But when you think about it, that's like 25. Well, it's more than 25 weeks actually, because we missed a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've done well. We've done well. Who knows when my attention span will die out? But it's still there for now.
Any moment it could just wane. But we've called Barriers and Boundaries.
Subheading: Get out of your own way.
Subheading: What's the difference in those things? We couldn't really decide on the title.
No. Who knows what it's going to be called by the time Tim types it up and puts it out.
It might be something completely different. People might be listening to this thinking, so it's called what? What have I clicked on the wrong one? Perhaps we should just make up some sort of clickbait title.
You won't believe what Britt and Tim said next.
Exactly. That controversial episode. Or something
I hate those. I hate that sort of stuff.
See, when I do my YouTube videos, I'm always looking for something that's just clickbaity enough to get interest, but not so clickbaity that it doesn't actually represent the video. Because I don't actually say anything controversial in my videos.
We're not those people, really, are we?
No, I feel like sometimes I want to. And so my friend Howard Cooper has a YouTube channel as well, and I feel like some of his are quite sort of confrontational, like, what you're doing wrong with it, things like that. And I feel like I try and be confrontational, but it's not really me.
No, you're too worried that someone will think something bad of you.
Well, okay, can I just address that, right?
Because it's true.
Well, no, I'm actually not worried about that, but I'm just too nice a guy. I'm there to help. I'm not there to challenge people in a way that upsets them.
So what you're saying is Howard's not a nice guy.
Well, that is I suppose we could infer that from that.
I'm going to send this to Howard, because I know he's not listening normally.
Howard listens every week.
Howard does not listen to this. He's too busy playing with the Rubik's Cube.
That's true. Or he's on his unicycle somewhere. Yeah, that's the sort of friends I have.
Nobody is shocked by this.
Yeah.
Right, what are we talking about?
Barriers and boundaries. So This was sparked by a conversation. All of our episodes are sparked by a conversation we had, so I shouldn't really start like that. But a very specific conversation, because it was warm weather recently.
Yes, it was.
And you had your shorts on.
As I usually do in the warmer weather.
Exactly, but not always.
No, and so this all started because if you didn't know, if you haven't seen a photo of me, I'm fat. I'll just point that out.
I would not call you fat.
I would. But it doesn't matter because I don't see it as like, it's not a negative thing, it's just a descriptive word. So I'm in the same way that I am short. Like I would call you short.
Yeah,
exactly. So, and I don't care. Like I'm really not one of those people who gives too much of a shit because like I'm healthy and I work out. Not that any of this matters. Anyone can live any way they bloody want to, but you know, I'm more than comfortable with myself. Yeah. Anyway, so years ago, I was, and this is really funny actually. So I was a lot bigger than I am now. But I lost some weight. I've put it back on because of pandemic, but I lost some weight. But I found in the interim when I lost a bit of weight, I was more self-conscious about myself than when I was bigger. And I thought that was quite interesting. And it was in that time that I started wearing in the summer when it was really hot. Like I was wearing 3/4 length leggings, and I would never wear vest tops. I would always have, you know, the little pointless, if women are listening to this, the little pointless cardigan, you know the sort I'm talking about, the little shawl bolero nonsense that it's just, what are you laughing at?
Well, I'm just laughing because being somebody who only really wears cardigans,
No. It's these little pointless ones that sort of sit just under your bra line, and they only exist to cover your arms. And every woman's got one in her wardrobe, and we don't know why we have them.
It doesn't keep you warm at all.
It doesn't keep you warm at all. Pointless. So I would exist in those, and then a few years passed and I kind of reached my 30s. My 30s was a big turning point for me, emotionally, physically, all kinds of ways. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? It's hot. And I'm making myself hotter by not wearing clothes that are weather appropriate.
Do you think that turning 30 thing, that was a moment when you started to concern yourself less with the judgment of others?
Absolutely. Because, you know...
What do you put that down to?
I put that down to, honestly, the media make women over 30 feel invisible. Best I've got for you. You know, when you basically exist as either, you know, a youthful, wrinkle-free, you know, young woman, or you're, you know, Glenn Close and Meryl Streep. Yeah. The bit in between... you kind of, as I say, you become invisible, and that's just bullshit. That's not true. So I basically just stopped caring, I think is the best way I can put it. And I was like, I'm going to wear whatever I want. And when it's hot, I'm going to wear strappy tops and shorts. Yeah. And lo and behold, the world did not stop turning. And nobody gave a shit. Yeah. So it turned out all of the demons that I thought were stopping me, the barriers and the boundaries, stopping me from wearing specific types of clothes, it turns out that they didn't exist. You know, they were actually
just in your own mind.
They were just in my mind. So I, you know, a few years ago, just started wearing what I want, and that was that. And I don't really think of it as anything radical. You know, I said this before, and I got quite passionate about this in our confidence episode. But I just want to reiterate, wearing clothes of any kind does not make you brave. It does not, you know, you don't have to summon courage to not cover your legs. Like, I don't know, I find it baffling.
Well, and yeah, it's worth saying here that it is a huge fear for people, you know. And I know you're not saying that to invalidate people's struggle, and the difficulties, and you're saying
I'm saying it, if anything, to help them.
To empower. Yeah, that's the thing. So, but this is the thing: everything that we regard as fearful, to overcome it, you know, ergo, we need courage to then face it, you know. Yes. So, but this is what you're saying, isn't it? That we don't need to place that importance on it and make this thing a fearful thing.
Yes. Yeah. So the reason we wanted to do this particular, oh God, I can't talk even with the retainer out, with this particular episode of the podcast was, I was just posting pictures on my social media of me living my life, because that's what I tend to do. Yeah. And I was receiving messages that I almost struggled to understand, of people saying, I'd love to wear stuff like that, but I can't. Yeah. And there was no other explanation, but I can't. It's as simple as that.
And this is the thing. This is what sparked our conversation, because I recognised instantly some of the responses you were getting were describing barriers, and some were describing boundaries.
And I didn't know what the difference was.
Well, this is the thing. So, and to be fair, it's only something really that's crystallised in my thinking, probably, I mean, in the last 12 to 18 months in terms of, because I do this thing where I'm working with people and certain ideas will sort of fester for a little while, and then we'll talk about it, or I'll have a think about it, and suddenly there'll be this moment of clarity where I'm like, oh, I can see what that means, or I can understand that a bit better. And it was a moment for me a while ago where I recognized, so here's the thing, right? You got two very specific responses that jumped out at me. You had people saying, so the barrier response, as in there are barriers stopping me doing this, would be, it's hot today, I'd love to wear the shorts rather than the jeans, but I'm worried what people will think of me. Yeah, so that's a barrier there, because you're saying I'm not wearing the shorts because I'm afraid to get my legs out because of judgment of others. Okay, that's a belief there that stops you doing it. The boundary response is, it's hot today, God, I'm going to be hot in those jeans. Right. And what I mean is, the concept of wearing the shorts isn't even on the table. Yeah. And this is what I get with people when I'm working with them. You'll get people who I have barriers. Yes. But they'll recognise there is territory beyond that barrier. Right. And that's where they're trying to get to.
There's greener grass.
Yeah, exactly. There is somewhere I would like to go, but it's like saying, oh, I'd like to travel to, I don't know, China, but my passport doesn't get me over the border.
Yeah. I mean, it's a terrible passport then in that case.
But you know what I mean? It's like I can't get access to that territory because I don't. The barrier there is blocking me. Right. I would need to get a visa to do that.
I'd like to cross the river, but there is no bridge.
Yeah. So you could argue that what we're doing is trying to find our visa to get where we want to go.
Incredible.
But the person that has boundaries.
I'd like to go somewhere. I'd like to leave. I'd like to go anywhere right now.
Anywhere other than England.
Anywhere other than England right now. I just need to get abroad. Oh God.
Well, we've had some nice weather, though. That's not bad,
I mean, it is literally torrentially raining outside right now.
Yeah, that's true. That wasn't a great example, was it? But you know what I mean? So, but the boundary response is, this is the whole map. Yeah. This is all the land there is these... Is
what I can see in front of me.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's almost like we don't even perceive it as an option.
Yeah. One of the responses I got said, really pleased you feel this way. I'll continue to sweat and overheat in leggings and jumpers. And I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Why? What's the... Also, I would just like to quickly jump in and say that the response of, I'm scared what other people will think of me. I've got a great piece of advice that is going to blow your noodle listening to this. Okay, are you ready? Are you sitting down? Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you're doing, what you're wearing. And that might sound depressing, but it's actually incredibly liberating, because if nobody gives a shit, you can do what you want. There you go.
You don't need to.
No.
Well, okay. So, but this is the thing. You come from a place where you did give a shit about what other people thought. You did think other people gave a shit.
I thought they did. Yeah. It turns out they don't.
Why was that?
Why did I think they did?
Yeah.
Internalized fat phobia, misogyny, upbringing, conditioning behaviour based on the media and the things presented to me by magazines and newspapers at an early age.
All of these things. So you recognised what those barriers were made out of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the first step, I should say.
Turns out, made out of rice paper. You just kick right through
them. This is exactly where we're going with this, yeah, is that they are imagined barriers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that you actually had a very personal experience of somebody, I don't know, hurling abuse at you.
Oh, massively. I've had abuse hurled at me all my life. This is the thing. When I say nobody gives a shit, I do mean that the majority of people don't give a shit. And sometimes you might be unlucky enough to encounter the 1%. Yeah. I had it. I remember I was walking through town and I was in my early 20s and I was actually wearing leggings. This is what makes me laugh even more. I wasn't even wearing shorts. I was wearing leggings. And some little shit, I think is the best way I can describe him, who should have been at school but wasn't, was sitting on a wall with his mates, and I walked past and he said, Christ, look at the size of her thighs. And it's only now I think about it, he probably wanted them around his neck, but he couldn't get them. So he decided to tell me about them, and I'm really annoyed because it was only like days later. I wish I'd have turned around and said, well, your dad wasn't complaining last night. But I knew that...
Brilliant. You had retrospective, witty retorts.
Yes. And you know what? And ever since then, now, when the witty retort comes to my head, I just say it. Like, it's just that. Anyway.
Normally, my wittiest retort is,
Yeah.
that's all I've got, really.
But here's the thing. That did affect me at the time. It massively
Yes,
did.
of course.
It really, really did. But I either had to look at that in the cold light of day and say, okay, that was like a teenager. He was like a 12-year-old. And then it was like, okay, would I, as a grown-ass woman, go to that 12-year-old for advice?
For what should I wear today, please, 12-year-old?
Would I go to them and ask their opinion on genuinely serious matters in my life?
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the answer's no.
But this is exactly it. But there's going to be people listening to this saying, well, you know what, I've had experiences of people vocalising kind of a lack of appreciation, or negative thoughts. And that tends to be where it comes from. A bit of you learns, I can't do that, because that opens me up to a negative experience. And there's a bit of you then that says, right, my job is to protect us from that negative experience. So the next time you think, I shall wear this revealing outfit or the short, then that bit says, no, hang on, remember, that leaves us open for less than positive experiences.
I remember I was wearing a dress once, and I wear bright coloured tights, snag tights, not an ad, just very good. And I was wearing bright coloured tights, and it was an older woman, and she was sitting opposite me in the coffee shop, and I heard her say to her friend, well, those tights are far too loud. And it's like, and this is the thing, and I laughed at that. Like, I laughed quite loudly so she could hear me as well, because it was like, I find your response comical.
Yeah.
So it's like, but if you listen to these people, then you'll end up, just small and shied away, wearing dark, completely covered things for the rest of your life, based on other people's issues with it that are not your own to take on.
This is the thing. I think it's really valuable to bring forward into our conscious awareness the origins of these thoughts, because it doesn't take us long then to work out, well, hang on, that was a 12-year-old, or that's an old lady who I know wouldn't wear this colour, because it would be weird if she did,
I'll be that old lady wearing that colour, that's for damn certain.
But this is it, there's reasons why that comment came your way at that time in that situation.
Yes.
And that enables us to look at that and say, well, I know why that doesn't apply.
Yeah.
I know why I don't need to base any of my future strategies on that particular experience.
Yes.
Yeah. And if we're just going flatly, that was unpleasant, let's stay away from it. It's what I refer to as the broadest strategy, which is where your mind comes up with a response to it, but it's a shit one, which is, I'll just avoid anything like that in the future.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But our mind does that. Don't get me wrong. It likes to generalise. It likes kind of sweeping general rules that it can operate by.
Well, it makes it easier, doesn't it?
Exactly. It gives us less things to think about and process consciously. Okay. So, but this is what we're here to do in this podcast, is say, well, hang on a minute. Where have those ideas come from? Because it doesn't take much for a barrier, when it's been there a while, to suddenly turn into a boundary,
right?
As in, we no longer perceive the option.
Yeah.
Those things. I tell you that what's symptomatic of that is where people say something like, "Well, I don't do that. I won't be doing that."
Yes.
And they're no longer doing that processing of, should I do that or should I not do it? No, I won't. They're just saying, I don't do that.
Yeah.
And that point, well, I don't wear shorts. Well,
Yeah.
I don't do this. I don't go in the water. I don't go to the social event. I don't, it's like, there's loads of things that we just then have had it there for so long. It's just now our new map of reality.
Yes.
And we cannot venture. We don't even conceptualize venturing beyond it. So I think I've said this in the podcast before, but I'm going to refer back to it. The tube map, the London Underground map that was made.
Do you know what? Just as soon as you said tube, I was like, tubes. I thought just like tubes. I don't know. I didn't think of the underground then. I thought of like,
the
like brightly coloured plastic tubes.
You're thinking lightsabers again, aren't you? That's what I think you're going for instantly. The London Underground map that they created basically so that people who suffered like social anxiety or agoraphobia or things like that, they could navigate their way around the London Underground without having to go underground too often or in busy stations.
Too long.
Yeah, that's it. And so it told you when you were underground and overground, and it allowed you.
Free.
That was the third category.
Overground, underground.
There was only a limited number of stations where you could be wombling free. I think it was just Wimbledon.
It's a Wimbledon Common. Oh God, how do we explain this if you're listening to this not in England?
Wombles. The Wombles. They were little animated characters. They live on Wimbledon Common. They pick up the rubbish and They have strange conversations.
And they're wombling through.
And the little furry chaps. And they were number one in the 70s.
Which is insane. Anyway.
Which is insane. Anyway. But
Please let me know if you got the Womble reference there.
But yeah, the tube map. So, but this is what we do. We have certain things that we regard as barriers, and then we kind of, in our mind, we've cordoned those areas off.
Yes.
And like, oh, I can't go there. I can't engage in that. I can't do that. So I have to do this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when it's been there for a while, those stations drop off the map. They might as well not be there because we can't go to those stations. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'm doing the tube analogy.
Yes,
rather
fine.
Than, am I mixing my metaphors a bit?
A little bit.
I'll be talking about a ship next, and then oh my god,
leave the ship out of it for 5 minutes.
No, I can't. I'm sorry. It's just it's in there now.
I'm surprised you haven't got a ship tattoo. I think that should be your next one.
A ship tattoo?
Yeah,
I could get a ship tattoo.
Like one of those. Like
but what ship would I have?
Like that ship. I'm pointing to a shelf.
Brilliant. This is a great podcast content here, pointing at something.
No, like an old ship. You know, like an old.
Like a galleon.
Yeah,
like a pirate, like in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
The Black Pearl.
Yeah, sort of.
Maybe. Wait, no, I could do a ship tattoo. Maybe I have to talk to Lizzie.
Oh, before she ventures away.
Oh yeah, a tattoo artist moving away. It's
selfish.
It's a difficult moment for us.
It's incredibly selfish.
Yeah. Anyway, So and this is what I want to talk about. So, for example, I was thinking about my social anxiety that I used to suffer, and there was a point where it was like I just don't do that. So originally it started out. I would be in a group of people and I'd have a negative experience, like somebody would take the mick out of me. I went to grammar school, right? And I'm not just saying that to sound clever.
I went to grammar school.
He said, pushing his glasses further up his nose. The bridge of his nose, not actually his nostril. And our culture seemed to be you had to take the piss out of each other. Like, that was relentless.
Is that not just British culture in general, though?
Well, but it wasn't like lad culture. It was like, wait. It was like, I don't know, I think we thought we had to be like Monty Python and be like intellectual and abstract and intelligent in our put-downs and things like that. And it was just, I wasn't that good at it, I'll be honest with you.
Well, you've just told me that your response was, so I'm not surprised.
Which now I think is like a self-aware, postmodern, quite intellectual retort.
Because I'll say things and you'll take the piss that I've come up with something quickly. And you're like, oh, you're so quick, aren't you? You're so witty.
That's what my mum always says about you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, Britt, you're so quick. You're quick wit, Britt. But I think that as well, actually. I just don't say it because I feel like I'll just sound old. Like, oh, look at her thinking of something quick off the cuff like that. It gets me on my nerves, it does.
Look, just because I'm quick to take the piss out of things. That's all it is.
It's a fearsomely good quality
Thank
you have
very
there.
Much. Thank you.
It's such a shame I'm on the receiving end so often. But anyway, let's get on with this. But this is the thing. So it started out as, don't go into that crowd of people because they'll take the piss out of you. You won't know what to say and you feel stupid and then you'll wander off.
My social anxiety was, don't go into that crowd of people. You don't like any of them.
You don't like people, do you?
Yeah.
But then this is the thing. I feel that's a little bit further down the line. That wasn't like I was born. I looked at people and thought, no, not for me. It was you had experiences that were unpleasant, yeah. And then, of course, it no longer becomes I won't go into that group of people because there's a couple of people there I don't like and they don't like me. It becomes groups of people. I don't do that.
Yes.
And you know what? And you've detached yourself from the reason behind it. And it wasn't until I reattached myself to the reason, as in, I don't go into groups of people because they might take the piss out of me. They might judge me harshly.
Yes.
And that would be bad for me. Yeah. Because when I was at school, being judged harshly, you've got that little microcosm. It's not like a real world. It's just like you've got 30 people in your class. You've got 100 people in your year. Yeah. You've got a few hundred people in the school. And you have a limited amount of people that you have the option of hanging out with. So if they're all taking the piss out of you, it made me sound like I was wearing a clown's outfit or something like that, but I really wasn't. It was just regulation school uniform.
Do you know, I maintain that people that say that school days were the best days of their life, I don't trust those people.
No, I find that weird.
You didn't peak after 16, you peaked. That was it.
Yeah, those were the best days.
Yeah, I don't trust those people. And people that, just their only friends are their school friends. Like, I don't mean just people who have school friends, because obviously I speak to people from school. Yeah. Like Kira, went to school with her, love her to bits. But people whose only friends are their school friends.
You don't trust them, do you?
I don't. I'm like, you haven't grown, you haven't changed, you haven't moved on.
I just think you haven't looked further afield, have you? You know what I mean? It's like you've probably not left your hometown, he said, living vaguely around his hometown area.
I'm nowhere near my hometown.
All right, Canadian. You're so honestly. If I have, can I go a day? Can I go one single solitary day? 24 tiny little hours without you mentioning the fact you're Canadian.
Well, I was talking about how I was Norwegian upstairs.
You was, yeah. We were talking about possibility of going on a Norwegian retreat when everything opens up.
And I am part Norwegian.
2%.
So, yes,
your
still
DNA
part.
says 2%. You'll get to Norway and you'll get off the plane and you'll be like, oh, back home at last.
I feel it in my soul.
I could feel the spirits of my ancestors coursing through my veins.
Look, when I got my DNA stuff and it was 2% Norwegian, I was like, that's interesting. And you said, well, everyone who's Anglo-Saxon's got a bit of Norwegian. And then yours came through. What was it? 99.2% English?
Plumstead, I think, was where all of my my
you
DNA...
had nothing else.
Look, I just feel...
Mine was a full page and yours was a sentence.
No, I feel like probably what happened was when I was gobbing into that tube to do the DNA test, the bits of me that were like slightly more exotic, and cosmopolitan, they didn't go out.
There is none of you that is exotic or cosmopolitan. Mine had like how many? Mine had like I don't know. Was it 10 countries? I think it was 10 countries overall.
Oh right,
I'm just saying. Well, no,
Mrs. International.
Well, all it just means is that I'm the child, the granddaughter, and the great granddaughter of just immigrants everywhere. So, and I myself am an immigrant.
Yeah, so I suppose there is that way of looking at it, isn't it? Yeah, let's get you out of the country.
I have paperwork. You can't do anything. Carry on.
Well, not legally, no.
Don't tell Pretty Patel, for Christ's sake.
Well, exactly. And isn't it gone to politics? Let's not get into politics. What the hell are we talking about?
I have no idea. I think we were here.
No, we weren't. I was down here. We're pointing at notes on my page.
You were talking about your school, and then there was a culture of taking the piss.
Yeah. So that and that was the thing. So in that situation, it did matter what other people thought of me.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was going to be repercussions if everyone rejected me. Yeah. So and when I thought I can't get to this phase where I can be liked by everyone, I'll just hide then. You know, because it's better to not be noticed than to be noticed in a bad way.
Well, like that awful Japanese proverb that I despise.
What's that one?
The nail that sticks out gets hammered down.
I mean, that's terrible...
That's like, they say that. Like, that's a proverb. And I'm like...
I feel like it's useful for reinforcing communism, but I don't think there's any other use for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
I'm questioning. It's a proverb. I can't remember where it's from. I should have researched that. Carry on.
That's okay. You don't have to research everything. Or anything, in fact, as it turns out. Yeah, but then when I had to reconnect with why I was avoiding people, crowds of people.
Yeah.
And then when I realised, that was because certain type of people, a certain situation where I couldn't just decide to walk away from it because it was school, I had to be there every day.
Yeah.
And then a certain version of me as well. And so much had changed that I was able to reconnect with the reason behind the barrier.
Yes.
Yeah, and then move beyond that barrier as a result of that. It was like I managed to invalidate the reason it was there. So there is whenever I think about this, I think about somebody that I had on one of my original workshops way back in the day. And they came to deal with public speaking anxiety. And the thing they were saying was, I feel nervous when I speak in public. But what they were actually describing was, so you do those networking things where you get 60 seconds each.
Yes.
And then somebody will say, so we're going to hear from John now. And after John, it's going to be Fred. Yeah. And so imagine this was Fred that was on the workshop.
Yes.
Yeah? So while John's speaking for 60 seconds, Fred is now getting nauseous. And about halfway through John's presentation, Fred needs to leave the room and throw up in the toilet because he's that nervous, So we had a real visceral response to it. And when we kind of started to say, well, why are you worried about it? Yeah. And he said, well, I'm really, really bad at public speaking.
Oh, interesting.
And his mind was saying, if you stand up to present your business, because you're so bad at public speaking, people will get the idea you're no good at your business either. They'll judge your quality of public speaking and say, obviously, that's how he does his job. And it would be bad for him. Yeah. So there was a reason behind it. But ultimately, we needed to kind of reconnect with his ability just to talk to people, because he was quite good at talking about his business.
Because that's all it is at the end of the day. It's just talking. But
speaking is.
Little did Fred know that nobody at networking is listening to what you're saying anyway.
That's very true. But anyway, let's skirt over that. That could have been another insight I could have given him there. Fred, mate, no one's listening.
No one at networking is listening. That's why I left networking.
That wouldn't so much encourage him to do public speaking as discourage him from attending networking events, though, wouldn't it?
That was my whole job before I left networking, to discourage people from networking.
Brilliant, you shouldn't be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were the one that went and sat down at the table when everyone else was open networking, as we say, chatting.
I'd tell the story, but it would have to be redacted. So carry on.
Brilliant. It would be. I'd have to edit it out or beep it.
Maybe we should do a live show, and then I can just say whatever I want.
Are you? What, you can do that on live shows, can you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, but so the point was there that when his mind was able to say, well, actually, I'm quite good at talking to people.
Yes.
Yeah. And his experience was of standing up for the first time. Oh, it's new. I'm not very good at doing this. Look at everyone looking at me. Might have even had experiences at school where he'd been kind of he'd made a fool of himself or something, because we all have that kind of experience where we feel a little bit exposed. We're asked to read out in front of the class. We've not done it before. I've got to speak up. I've got to read in front of, etc. But there was a bit of him that said, I'm no good at public speaking, so that's going to be a bad experience. So the fear that he was experiencing was his mind saying, don't do that, you'll come a cropper.
You don't do that.
Exactly. So when we were dealing with it on the workshop, we basically had to get that message in there that, you know what, you're good at talking to people. And so you actually will be okay. He said to me, like, about a month later, he said, you know what, the first time after that workshop when I did public speaking, it was really good. I wasn't, as nervous. And he said, funny thing is, I'm actually quite good at it. And it turns out the only reason he wasn't good at it was because he felt sick every time when he was trying to do it.
Well, that's going to hinder you.
Well, it is, exactly. I think, if I felt like I was literally going to vomit as soon as I opened my mouth, I don't think I'd be great at public speaking either. You know what I mean?
No.
And I think that was the point there, that he had this assumption about the experience, and his mind was creating an aversion to it. So sometimes we just got to challenge that, update the map of reality. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's like someone messaged me, not to go back to clothing, because I know that sounds quite superficial, but it's something that I talk about a lot in my stories. But I had someone message me saying that for the first time ever this year they'd bought a swimsuit.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't own a swimsuit.
Yeah.
So anytime there was like an opportunity to go swimming or to get in the water, which I will jump head first in, like, yes please, thank you. Like, it was, I can't go swimming. Yeah. And then a physical barrier, like, because I don't have a swimsuit.
Yeah, right.
And it was the stopping them buying the swimsuit that was sort of emotional. And it was like, just buy one and then you can.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. I think as well, what I've noticed is that, so I don't tend to see people to talk about boundaries.
No.
Because there's this journey of change thing that I always refer to, where by the time they've reached me and they're sitting in a room with me, the journey of change isn't like at stop one, it's like 10 stops along.
Yes.
Yeah, we're almost at the very finish line of that change, because they've kind of recognised they've got something they want to change, realised it might be possible to change, looked into various methods, looked at various people doing various methods, and decided now to take action on it.
Yes.
And so they've gone all this journey. And that's because we see barriers. We see there's somewhere I want to be, and there's this thing in the way of it, this belief, What happens is, boundaries, people don't even realise there's any territory beyond their limitations. So they're not even contemplating change.
Is that like, so I do yoga most mornings, and I do videos yoga with Adrian. She's great. If you want to get into yoga, I highly recommend checking her YouTube videos out. And before it starts, like, a lot of the time she'll say, you're here, you've carved out this time for yourself. The hardest part is just sitting on the mat. Yeah. So it's like, so for me, I know when I get up in the morning, I know I'm going to do yoga. Yeah. Even though I'll be like, I can't be bothered. I know I'm going to do it. So for me to, like, get up, shower, get changed, roll the mat out, move the carpet out of the way, and actually sit there, like, all those things had to happen first. Yeah. And at any one of those points, I could have said, no, not today. But I got through all of that, and I sat there. So it's like the hardest part is showing up. Yeah, exactly, because there has to be something we're setting a goal towards. You know what I mean? The thing that I get with people occasionally, so I do stumble across boundaries sometimes. Not that they're there to say, right, this thing that I don't perceive I can do, I want you to help me do it. Yes. It's like, I think I should be able to do it, but for some reason I can't. Yeah. But sometimes I do stumble across them. So the classic one that I get, people will come to me and they'll say, right, Tim, I want you to help me manage my panic attacks better. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, wouldn't you rather just not have panic attacks? Wouldn't you just not have them, Yeah. And they'll do that thing of, well, obviously that would be amazing, but it's not like it's not
connected. Yeah, it's not connected as something they could do, because, I have a panic disorder, or I'm that person that has panic attacks. And when they, funny thing is, well,
have you ever had a panic attack?
Not a full-on one in terms of I can't breathe. Yeah. I've had anxiety attacks, which are slightly different.
We should do another podcast on that, I think.
What, the difference between panic and anxiety? Yeah, possibly. Because, anxiety attacks tend to be like prolonged states of anxiety where we're fixating. Panic attacks is, I'm going to die, I can't breathe. that sort of thing.
I think I've had both.
Yeah, I think you probably have, actually.
I think I've had both. You've seen me have a few.
I mean, I remember when you lost your Disney annual pass.
No, look, right, shut up. No, that's very different. That's, how dare you?
You say that's very different.
The audacity. How dare you? Carry on with your little story.
I'm not attempting to trivialise.
Do you know what? Because it sounds like you are.
Look, I can only say the truth.
What's next on your notebook? I'm not talking to you now.
Brilliant.
You can talk to yourself the next half an hour.
The other classic boundary is people that are dealing with depression. Yes. Or anxiety disorders or things like that, where they've been diagnosed and now their mind isn't really attempting to operate outside the bounds of their diagnosis. Yeah. It's genetic, it's hereditary or something like that.
Because of my XYZ.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing, we often get presented with those sorts of issues as if they are beyond our control. And as a result, there is no territory outside of depression. Yeah. And I know that you would given this kind of diagnosis yourself at one point,
Oh, that I'd be depressed for the rest of my life, yeah.
But the simple fact is, this is why oftentimes boundaries are quite flimsy.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, we haven't, a lot of the time, conceived of the idea there's anything beyond there, and we haven't even looked as a result of it. So when we do, we realise this isn't a brick wall, this is like a piece of paper with a brick wall drawn on it. It literally could be batted out the way when we realise there's more territory beyond there.
It's like that wall hanging of the red bricks for the platform 9 3/4 that we were looking at getting for the Harry Potter party we had.
Yes.
It's just a bit of paper.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that it's wonderful when we realise this.
Yeah.
When we discover something about the world that we didn't know. And the only reason we haven't discovered it is because we haven't looked for it. Yeah, and I think a lot of times in life we are discouraged from looking beyond our boundaries.
Yeah, because as we've said this before, and I know we have, but it's that culture, especially in this country, I've noticed, that's different from like other countries, is that thing of don't go above your station. Who do you think you are? This, that, and the other, and I hate that. Hate it. Yeah.
This is why it's so difficult to, monetarily speaking, earn more than you're used to having.
Yes, absolutely. I completely understand that.
Yeah, we have a certain level we perceive ourselves to be at in terms of our, I don't know, I hesitant to say class, because I don't think it's...
No, I know what you mean. We put ourselves in these boxes. I can remember when I was working loads of temp jobs, because I've had a lot of jobs in my short little life, and I was looking at temp jobs, and because you could search by whatever like filter you wanted to.
Yeah.
And I was searching for a certain amount of money that I thought I was worth.
Yeah.
And I was only applying for jobs that paid that certain amount of money.
Exactly.
Which is ridiculous.
We limit ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the story of the training fleas how to jump.
Oh, yes.
So I was told, I don't know if this is true or not, but the story I was told, and I really like the story.
I'm not sure it sounds true.
It doesn't sound true. So back in the vaudevillian times, when you have travelling flea circuses, and you actually had
before
fleas.
TV.
Yeah. Also, flea circuses were just mechanised little things, weren't they? Like a wheel going around. But anyway, the idea is that when you got fleas that you train to do things, they have to not jump out of the box that they're in. So when you're training your fleas, you put a glass ceiling on the box.
It's a glass box, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's certainly the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I said glass ceiling. You put a glass ceiling on it so that if they jump too high, they'll bump their little heads, their little flea heads.
The fleas have heads.
And then when they go to the performance, of course, the glass ceiling isn't there, and everyone's like, look, the fleas, they just jump within the confines of the box.
And then just before fleas, like, right, guys, 5 minutes till showtime. You know the drill. We don't jump too high. We don't get hurt. Let's go.
Exactly. That's the kind of pep talk they're going for. But then, so you get taught that if you try and jump too high, you'll hurt yourself. And
now, that's what I find really funny. So we've spoken about this before, but I was never given that information.
No, you wasn't, was you?
I was never given that. So when you were talking about going to school and not wanting to stand out and this, that, and the other, I thought back to the last year of my primary school. Right. And genuinely, in the last year of my primary school, I used to sing. You may know this. I used to be a singer. I'm all right. I don't sing anymore. Anyway,
you got the voice of an angel.
Oh, thank you. A fallen angel. So I used to sing. So in the last year of school, right, I was a chubby kid anyway. Right, fine. So I'm going to stand out. Chubby kids tend to do that. B, because I was a chubby kid, I was a funny kid, because that is also what happened.
Your defence.
That was my defence mechanism. So again, I stood out. 3 or C, I can't remember what I've done. I had really long hair, like super long hair down to my bum. It was always like either in a plait or like, you know, so again, stood out. Then I recorded an album, as you do. And then, for some unbeknownst reason to me that I'll never be able to ask her now because she's dead, my mum decided that she would bring the CD in, and my head teacher at the time, Mr. Hayward, who was lovely, decided to just gather everyone in the school and played my CD over lunchtime or whatever. And yeah, kids massively took the piss out of me. Did I care? No. I was like, yeah, listen to how good I am. Absolutely. Yeah, and then also that year, I won a competition where I won 4,444 bags of crisps. It was actually, I say crisps, it was cheesy popcorn. It's a long story. It was a thing back in the day. It was actually quite nice, but 4,000 bags of it was not. So I brought them into school, and and they would get handed out to everyone at every lunch break and dinner sort of thing. So I was the very opposite of not standing out.
Have you seen Tim Burton's original Batman film? At some point, the Joker goes through the streets of Gotham throwing money into the streets from the top of his car, and that's how I just imagine you with your cheesy popcorn.
Cheesy popcorn. Do you know what? It was probably, if anyone's listening who went to my old school, it was exactly how it was. So I was the very epitome of not hiding. But again, I had the piss taken out of me. Yeah. Christ, I had the piss taken out of me. I was bullied. I was all that, but it didn't make me hide away. If anything, it made me louder because I was like, oh, okay, people are listening to what I'm saying. I'll keep saying it.
Yeah, you know, this is really interesting. I had a very similar conversation recently with my friend Anthony Gitch, who is a control practitioner in Seattle, which is near Canada, I believe.
It is. He's, you know
not
what?
Too far from Canada.
So we used to get the boat from Victoria, which is where I'm from. It's an island, down to Seattle, because I believe the boat to Seattle was a shorter time than the boat to the Canadian mainland. So there you go.
There you go. A nice little Canadian anecdote there, as if we hadn't had enough already.
Shut up. Carry on.
And Anthony is a really great hypnotherapist, really great practitioner. And we were talking about certain insights we give to clients. Yeah. And I was talking about, you know, that idea that at school we're encouraged to kind of fit in because that's our survival strategy when we can't. And he was like, what? That's my best Anthony Gitch impression again. And he was just like amazed. He was like, no, in the States, we're like, you know, stand out, be, you know, succeed, all that sort of thing. They have a slightly different culture. And I do think there is a slight cultural problem in the UK.
Maybe that's where I get it from, because I'm Canadian, but maybe that's...
Well, you were in Canada till you were 8. Yeah. A lot of your formative years. I mean, most of our strategies... are in place at that age because we're sponging up information even before we're talking. Even before people are actively teaching us, we're taking in information. And also the fact that your mum was very much do what you want, that kind of thing. That's an
not
attitude.
In like a neglected, not in like a, you know, go out and play with wire and come back later. Not in that kind of way, but in a nobody can tell you can't do anything.
Exactly, and so she didn't put any boundaries on you just because she wasn't living a life of boundaries.
No.
And again, it is what we learn. And a lot of our barriers, we will find their origins in our childhood. I mean, I say a lot. You could make an argument that all of them are in some way going to originate from our early childhood experiences.
Exactly. I mean, another reason I'm not having children, I can't be dealing with in 18 years a child is in a therapist session talking about me.
That's true, isn't it? I couldn't bear that burden.
I shouldn't be responsible for that kind of stuff.
I feel like our children would be in therapy saying, don't get me wrong, my parents were great, but
why did they call me Anakin?
Well, exactly. Exactly. Why did they send me to school dressed as Captain America? And it wasn't even costume day or book day.
I think what would more scar the child is calling it Anakin.
Yeah, because actually Anakin turns out to be like the most evil man in the universe.
I mean, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Star Wars, but Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. So
second Star Wars reference today.
Is it? But yeah, so you know, but Anakin's a great name.
I don't think it is.
I think it's a great name.
Because then he's going to be called Annie, which is no problem. I'm not saying, oh, he's going to be like a girl. I'm just saying Annie's just like, I don't know. I feel like
Anakin Box. Are you serious? Are you not? Anakin Box. I mean, a child is, I'm never having one. But, you know, Anakin Box, that'd be great.
I thought if it was a boy, we were going to call it Duke.
What, Jukebox?
Yeah.
Or Pandora, another reason. We're too irresponsible. Carry on.
We would have to give them comedy names. You know, it would just Jack.
Jackbox.
Middle name Inner. oh, this is going to be a whole podcast as well. I feel potential names of our imaginary never to be
made children. Yeah.
Anyway, so barriers. That's what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yes.
I've got a note here. I want to talk about what I refer to as the most painful barrier.
Okay.
Because a lot of times there are barriers of circumstance as well.
Okay.
And I think it's important to recognise when we perceive a barrier to be of circumstance, but it's actually another imagined barrier.
Yes, right, I'm with you.
So a lot of times people will say, well, I can't do that because of this or that, and we end up sort of taking that role of victim in our story because, oh, it's like that because of
this,
So I had, this was a very long time ago, I did a workshop and a lady on the workshop, we were working on her self-esteem. Yeah, that was what she came to change. Okay. And there was a point where we were working together and she suddenly sort of sat bolt upright and she said, I know what I've got to do. I said, what's that? She said, I've got to leave my husband. I was like, oh, that's quite a hefty burden of responsibility you've placed on the shoulders of this particular session.
Did you immediately get ideas that, like, there's going to be some bloke knocking on your door saying, excuse me?
What you've been saying to my wife? I don't know why I'm imagining
that's a very good, gruff straight man impression. Well done.
An impression of a gruff straight man. Wow. I mean, I know I'm sitting there with my legs crossed. Like,
it's also how you speak to tradesmen. And
it is, yeah.
Like, oh, is something wrong with the car?
Oh, mate. Yeah.
If you go down there and speak like you normally do there.
Well, I'll get that from my dad. My dad, if he's talking to trades, I don't know who he is. I'm like, who's this man? this tradesman, this workman. Where are you, father?
Papa, I have lost you.
Return to me. Anyway, what's something about? Yeah, so she said, I've got to leave my husband. Yeah. And I was like, oh, and I sort of wanted to explore that. And she said, well, what she was saying was, if she was going to have the level of self-esteem she felt she wanted,
yes,
she couldn't do that whilst getting constant abuse in her relationship.
Oh, so he was a dick.
Yeah, basically. I mean, again, I don't.
You weren't there.
A, I don't remember who the person was, and B, I've never met the husband. But from her report, he was quite verbally abusive to her on a regular basis. So she was like, "Well, all this stuff that I'm starting to feel about myself, starting to discover, that maybe my quality is of a greater level than I've given myself credit for, all that sort of thing." The person I'm with, the person I listen to most in my day, seems to have a different opinion. Yeah, and that's the opinion that I'm going to get given on a regular basis.
Yeah, chuck him in the sea.
I don't think that's a great solution.
I think it's a great solution.
But the point was that she was saying, well, that's what's got to happen. And this is what I refer to as the most painful barrier. Yeah, the barrier that we have to break through, that we know, if I change this thing about me, it's not congruent with the life I'm living.
Yes.
We have better self-esteem. So, no, I'm not going to put up with that abusive relationship. No, I'm not going to put up with that dead-end job. I'm not going to put up with my friends treating me the way they do.
Yeah.
And suddenly we realise, well, if I change this thing about me, I've actually got to change so many aspects of my life.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just easier to stay where I am in the little box that I've put myself in the sort of confined boundaries of my existing map of reality.
Yeah. And as a result, you don't grow, you don't change.
Exactly. And what I came up with on the spot that day, I still use with clients when I feel like they're experiencing resistance to change simply because, well, life would be a little bit worse, wouldn't it? I'll leave my husband. I'll be in a smaller house. I'll have a smaller income. I'll be raising the kids on my own. All those sorts of things. Yeah. We know that life is going to get harder as a result of this change. So why would we do it? And here's the thing. The most painful barrier is like the glass wall. Yeah, we can see through it. We can see that where we are is nowhere near as good as through the other side of this barrier. But we also know that to get there, we're going to have to take damage. We've got to smash through this glass barrier and it's going to hurt. So why would we do it? The reason why we would do it is because we can see that's where we should be. Yeah. And we know that when we get there, we will be able to heal.
Yeah.
We will heal stronger and we will live a happier life. Yeah, it's like we've already seen what's the other side of the barrier is where we want to be. Yeah, and I think as well, we often restrict ourselves from the new. Yeah, because there's an element of unknown about it. But I think as well, we just got to recognise that sometimes there's also an element of known, as in I know there's going to be certain things that are going to be loads better about my existence.
Yeah.
Because I won't be doing that. I'm going through that experience of just gradually being worn down, but yeah, I think a lot of the time we've got to challenge why were those barriers put there?
I mean, yours is a much more articulate way of me just saying, just do the thing.
Yeah.
This is why I'm not a therapist.
But I was thinking about there's a number of reasons why you're not a therapist. My love.
I could be. I'd be a very niche therapist.
You would be. It would be like the brutal truth with Britt Box. Can you handle the brutal truth?
No, I'm nice. I just don't have time for bullshit.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, who does? I mean, who actively encourages bullshit into their life? I think it just arrives there without us realising, doesn't it? Anyway, yeah. What was so? I encouraged myself to think of when have I become aware of boundaries that I've suddenly discovered?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll say now and I remember yesterday. I remember all those times, those years ago. Yesterday, when I said, I want you to come up with a boundary that you realise you've gone through, and you were like, "Well, I haven't really grown up with boundaries, Tim, because I've just got on with it." But I feel you have. But boundaries are things.
I completely forgot you asked me to do that.
Yeah, thanks, appreciate that.
Sorry.
Like I said, preparation, probably none.
I've had a big day. Leave me alone.
Brilliant. Boundaries you had all that yoga to do, didn't you? Yeah, and
I've been doing stuff. Anyway.
Stuff.
Yeah, I'm busy.
You finished your Lego Death Star.
Do you know what? I'm going to punch you in the face.
No, I actually thought,
no.
I'll congratulate you on finishing your Lego Death Star.
Look, if you don't hurry up talking, I will just end this podcast right now.
There'll be a...
and Tim will never be heard from again.
Anyway, but I thought...
Oh my God, what if our podcast get used in court one day? Could you imagine? How embarrassing.
I can imagine, but I think... the jury would very quickly, the judge would throw out the evidence. This is clearly bullshit. This is just two people chatting shit. Anyway, remember when we started this podcast and we said, well, let's not swear?
Yes. Well, there are swear words that I don't say, just that I would normally say in my everyday life that I don't tend to say.
Yes. We haven't F-bombed yet, I don't think.
I was thinking of other ones. Carry on.
Was it? I can only think of one worse than that. So yes, don't do that one.
Look, will you just look?
Anyway,
the poor 6 people listening to this want to get to the end of the podcast.
Right. So I realised as I was thinking, well, what boundaries have I discovered that I've got past?
Yeah.
Boundaries aren't things we notice
no.
because that's the point of them.
Yeah.
We don't notice the edge of the map.
Yeah, I was about to say we don't know where the end of the map is
exactly.
unless you're a flat earther, and then you think you do.
Well,
and you're wrong.
God. Don't even go there. Thank God that's vanished from our YouTube history now after, and it's no longer showing us. I became
obsessed watching those videos. Not that I think it in any way, but the people are insane.
Every other video suggested to us a flat earth video. Thank God we're past those dark days. But no, then I realised there was a boundary that came from originally a barrier. Okay, so when we first met, I think we might have told this story on the podcast before, but I like the story.
I think we should stop saying that and just repeat the
just
content.
Repeat the
just repeat the content. No one's going to know.
Also, different context. Anyway. We were on our first foreign holiday together.
Yes.
I say our first foreign holiday. We went for those few days in Malaga when you were doing your public speaking stuff.
Yes, when I was doing the International Women's Day conference.
Yeah, smashed it. I loved that. It was amazing.
Oh, thanks,
and then we went to we said we need to do a holiday. We went to Zante.
Yes,
we went on the pirate adventure trip.
We did.
The
Couscous Beach.
The Couscous Beach, yeah. There's the Shipwreck Beach, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's quite famous.
If you ever do end up in Zante, I don't know why you would, but well, you might go and see the shipwreck.
Get over to Shipwreck Bay.
And there's so you have a boat journey that's a bit of a piratey boat that you're on. The crew are dressed as pirates, and at some point they climb up the rigging and down again to music. For some reason.
To the pirates' music.
Yeah, to the pirates' music. Played over some crappy ass speakers that you can barely hear over the sound of the sea. But it was just a lovely day. Anyway.
Yeah.
And there was a bit where at the end, we're going to get to sail into this cove, which is beautiful. The water's crystal clear. Yeah. It's lovely swimming. So if you want to, we're going to be parked there. I don't think they said the word parked.
But we can't pull up anywhere basically.
No, so it's basically you can get off the boat for a swim, but we're going to be there for 30 minutes. And you were like, right, I'm getting in for a swim. Let's do it.
I took my stuff off, put my swimsuit. I was about to put pyjamas on. No, I put my swimsuit on.
And I encountered a boundary because I just said, no, I won't go in. Because whenever anyone in the past had said, should we do this activity, that I'm like, no, I don't. I sit and watch other people do it. That's what. And you went off and you said, oh, okay then. And you took your towel and you went off. And then I was sitting there and I thought, and for the first time I'd pondered like, I think I might actually enjoy a swim, because I think it was all based around, I don't want to look silly. I won't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not a strong swimmer, although I'm a much stronger swimmer now. I'm just going to add, since all the time we've gone on holidays, I feel like I'm quite a good swimmer now. I'm saying that because you said to me I wasn't a strong swimmer the other day. And so I'm just reiterating that.
You're not as strong a swimmer as I am, but you are definitely better than you were.
I don't float as well as you, no.
I'm buoyant.
You are so buoyant. If you're ever shipwrecked on a boat with Britt, just grab hold of her. 'Cause she's like the most effective flotation device you'll ever encounter.
I really am.
So it's not
it defies physics, I think.
Just because you can tread water, sit there floating for
float.
longer than me, and I
do swim good. I can swim good too, though, as well.
I can swim good.
I can swim good.
Yeah. You can actually. Yeah. But anyway, point being that, and I was like, I want to get in the water, and I realised I just encountered a boundary, something I'd not entertained, and I was like, what if I got off the boat? What would be the worst thing? I re-examined my reason for not getting off the boat, and there was no reason except I don't do those things.
Yeah.
And that was the moment when I decided from now on I'll get off the boat.
And I was so proud of you, because as well, the thing is that I didn't press it, because every relationship I've ever been in, I've been with someone who doesn't get off the boat, and I've always been the one who does.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you don't want to go, cool. Not like I don't care, but like I don't care. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got my stuff and I got off the boat, and I'm just floating around in the lovely crystal blue. It was beautiful.
Oh, it's lovely, yeah.
And the sun was shining, and I just want to be on holiday. And and it was lovely, and I was just having a really nice time by myself, which is fine. And I remember looking up at the boat to try and see you, because you said, oh, I'm going to come and watch you. So I looked around, and then all of a sudden I saw you by the little ladder, by the little walk the plank thing, like getting in. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, he's come to join me. And never in my mind did I think, oh, he's just encountered a big thing and got over it.
No.
Because I was just, as I say, I've always been with people. Like I've always just, like you say, I just get involved.
Yeah.
I just do the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was never anything. But I remember when you got in the water and you swam over to me, and just how happy you looked. I was so proud of you.
My little face, mate.
Your little face. You're trying splashing away, trying to stay afloat desperately. And you came over and you put your arm on me, and I'm like, it's okay, I got you.
I feel like you're remembering this vast. I felt like I got in the water and I swam like Michael Phelps. I was like, yes, freedom, like that sort of thing.
It was absolutely not.
Was a doggy paddling.
But I remember feeling very proud of you.
Yeah. Well, it's just like one of those things where you realise, oh, hang on, I've just been saying I don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was based on old stuff.
Yeah.
But so now it is. I'll dance at the wedding. I'll do the karaoke with you. I feel like life opens up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You realise there's more territory on this map than you thought there was.
Yeah. Just do the thing.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of I think that's the best place to leave what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Barriers often, they're there to protect us from the world, from its dangers. But oftentimes, as we grow, as we get older and wiser and more experienced, they just end up protecting the world from us.
Yeah.
And they stop us engaging, they stop us getting involved. And I guess if I was going to encourage people to do one thing, it would be look at what you're doing and what you're not doing, and look at what is based on old stuff. What are the boundaries you hadn't realised were there? And maybe just open our eyes a little bit more and see what's available to us that we just assumed wasn't there.
Yeah. And if there's something that you want to do, but you think, oh, it's not for me, I can't do that, it's not that. Just, and I think you'd agree with this, just ask yourself why. And really, really listen to that answer. Now, I'm not saying just because I can't, because that's bullshit. I'm not having that.
Or it's just the way I am.
Yeah, no,
that's not a real barrier.
No, listen to the reason. And if it is something like people might laugh at me, or people might, it doesn't, I was about to really swear then, but just other people's perceived opinions on your life should not stop you living it.
No.
Because, the thing that I found, honestly, because I know we joke and we say, like, because I didn't grow up with boundaries. I didn't grow up with reasons to not do things. Doesn't mean I haven't had them. Doesn't mean I don't have insecurities, because I absolutely do. But the one thing that has got me by when it comes to these sorts of boundaries and barriers is that I'm not going to be around forever. Neither are you. Make the most out of what we've got and dance while you still can.
Beautiful.
And that's what I have.
So that's what more can we say? except if you haven't subscribed to this podcast already, now's a great time to hit that subscribe button.
Leave us a 5-star review, do all the good stuff. Share it with someone you think may benefit from our wisdom and random nonsense.
Wisdom's an interesting word. Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening, guys. As always, we really, really appreciate you listening to the podcast. We really enjoy doing them, and it's lovely to know when you're listening and what you're doing when you're listening to it. I know some people listen when they're out on a run. I mean, good on you. Not for me, but good on you. Some people listen to when they're cleaning. Again, not mine. But whatever you're doing when you're listening to this podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So you can come find us on Instagram. I am at Britt Marie Box. You can find Tim at Tim Box Mind Coach. You can also find Tim on YouTube of the same name, I believe, Tim Box Mind Coach.
Yes.
Where he has lots of videos that are really great, and they don't have me in them, so there's a lot less tangents gone on. They're very informative. They're amazing. You should go check them out. And again, tag us. If you're listening, tag us on your stories. And thank you.
And of course, as always, as we always say, keep thinking outside the box.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.